Welcome to Cutting the Crap with Shap. I am Craig. Super excited to be here with my good friend, Brian Bassler. Brian is an amazing coach, teacher, father. He is somebody who is loved by so many students at our school. I know why, because he really, it's just that loves being in education. He's a fabulous guy. You're going to learn so much from him. He's going to bring so much to the table. Our conversation is going to flow so naturally because Brian and I have probably had 100 conversations just randomly throughout our time together. So everybody, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing. If you want to be on the podcast with me, I'd love to have you. I want a ton of voices, whether we agree or disagree. I'd love to have you. Bass, good to see you, brother. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, good to see you too, man. And Shap, I'm glad you brought up the hundreds of conversations that we had because, to be quite honest, I usually don't agree with you. But tonight, after hearing everything you've said about me and all the love that people have for me, I can't help but agree with that one. I am one of a kind. You know, I am a beloved individual pretty much anywhere I go and anywhere I've been. But first and foremost, yeah, for those people that might not know my personality, they would know that I am actually pretty modest, pretty humble, and I have some fun being sarcastic with the other stuff. But I want anybody to know, please don't get the wrong idea. I am pretty genuine when I want to be.
And actually, it's kind of funny. So everybody has to understand. Like Brian and we've had so many conversations, and I think one thing people are going to love is that you'll have to kind of figure out whether we're joking or serious some of the time, because there'll be a lot of banter going back and forth. And Brian is incredibly humble. For being somebody who has had so much success coaching and teaching, he's really humble in the best sort of way. So one of the things that Brian and I had talked about before we hopped on, we talked about this idea of, building culture in the classroom, the school, the community. We're both passionate about that. It's something that I've been teaching for 36 years. I know Brian's been teaching for a while. Something we both live. We both live it. We both live in the community. So what's that kind of mean to you, Bass, when you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things that really have, over the years, bonded us together through our discussions is just trying to bring out the best, not only in each other and the people around us, but really the school and the community. It means a lot to me. I grew up in Southampton. I went to William Tenet. I've been there now for 24 years as, like you said, a teacher, a coach, an aide. I've kind of done a little bit of everything through hosting Black and White Night, being involved in Powder Puff and some really great Senior Sweetheart and now Miss Tenet skits over the years. So try to really be ingrained in just the community and what the students are passionate about. And, 28 years of my life has been spent over there on 333 Centennial. So it means a lot to me for it to be something that I want to be proud of and something that I want students leaving there and coworkers leaving there and be proud of it too.
Yeah. I didn't realize, man. I didn't realize you had 24 years in.
Yeah. So, a little bit of a windy road, but yeah, obviously the 4 years that I went to school there. And when I came back from Bloomsburg, I came back with a communications degree and found myself down on 15th and Walnut at a public relations firm. And, I know you go through a lot when you're younger, but I did not want to wait to pursue my passion, which was coaching. And when I had the opportunity back in 2000, I was able to get an emergency certification to substitute. So I was a substitute at William Tenet for 3 days, got some good breaks, and was able to get a job as a special education aide and a 9th grade boys basketball coach. And they couldn't get rid of me. So 24 years later, here we are. I started teaching in English in 2003. But yeah, all those years added up in the long term. So that was pretty good.
Wow, that's crazy. So what do you think I know you're going to be humble, but I'll just ask you, what do you think has been like the critical point of you being successful for that long?
I mean, it's definitely just me. I don't know. how to do anything any other way. So, like, when you put me up in front of a classroom, that was like the missing piece to my life, like early on when I'm young and I'm like, wow, everybody's got to look at me and listen to me now. I thought I found peace and harmony there in the front of the classroom.
Yeah, and you know what? I think one of the things that kids really like about you is just you got a really nice balance. Like you're able to kind of, and you can take it any way you want. It's a compliment. Like a lot of teachers and people who coach or around kids have trouble balancing that sense of humor piece and that serious piece. Because it can be hard. It can be hard being in that leadership professional role and also being able to let your guard down and also have that sense of humor.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. You got to have that balance there because I'll tell you a funny story when I was first starting out and everything. Again, talking about being humble or being whatever, I was just inexperienced.
Right.
And especially coming from a background where I had to go get my graduate degree at Holy Family because I only had a communications degree. So I really had to brush up on a lot of, as an English teacher, a lot of English literature and different things that I wasn't as much of an expert as the people around me.
Hmm.
So in my first year, we were all out one day celebrating somebody's birthday, and I just asked some of my fellow colleagues, like, "What do you guys think I could do a little bit better here? What do you guys think, man? Early on, early impressions." And Paul Koza looked right at me. He said, "Be a man, be a man." Like, and because I was so fun loving and different things, and you don't want to be a pushover. You want to have that respect, but you don't also want to be a dictator, right, in the
Right.
front of room. You have to have the balance. And one of the main passions I had about education early on was I just wanted to do some of the things that some of my teachers did for me,
Hmm.
because that was going back to what the reality of what made me successful was. I was confident leaving William Tennant High School,
Hmm.
um, whether it be again from the athletics I partook in, or whether it was just being in the different classrooms with different teachers that supported me, or to the extracurriculars. And people laugh at that all the time. But things like Black and White Night, things like coaching Powder Puff my senior, Molly Leahy interviewed me to be the Powder Puff coach my senior year. It was her first or second year of teaching, and looking back on it, her giving that position and that responsibility led me down the road to some of my passions, right? And
Hmm.
gave me confidence to know I could do some of these things, especially as I gained experience and gained years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think when I hear the stuff that you're saying, that also goes back to both of like how both of us are really in school. We really do want to try to make a difference. I think that's something that is critical in education. Like our time at school is really kid centered. Trying to make a difference for kids, trying to be uplifting and positive, but also real. And I guess that kind of goes to how do you think we can develop that culture in the community, in the school, with kids and staff to make school a better place?
Yeah, so I mean that's one of the more difficult things, right? I mean,
Yeah.
again, all the things I'm talking about, I haven't really talked too much about me being in the classroom and what I was learning.
Right.
It is very difficult, I think, to motivate, especially teenagers that are motivated by so many other things and were distracted by so many other things in life. I mean, I tell my classes all the time, I love being in the school with them. I love being in the class, but I could probably come up with about 1,000 different things I'd rather be doing.
Yes.
And so that's the great conundrum there is how do we balance that? How do we figure that out? Um, I think some of it is some of the classes we offer now.
Hmm.
And when I look at it, like I love being at practice. I love partaking in our competitions, with the girls volleyball team, and I've coached, basketball
Hmm.
and the boys volleyball over the years. And I love that. That's one of my number one environments. And for the most part, students who get into those activities want to be there.
Hmm. Yep.
It's not always that way in the classroom.
Oh.
So I'm very happy for one that we've been able to offer such a wide array of classes at Tenet. So things like public speaking, enter the Shark Tank, triumphs and tragedies in
Mhm.
sports literature, pathways. for English courses, these aren't your traditional,
Hmm.
you know, I know, going through, so many people just love British literature. But over the years, the amount of students that I talked to, it just seemed like we could balance it a little better. So, the half a year of that and the half a year something else, I think works really well. Because it is difficult, right? Like, they're long days. It's really not always tailored for, again, the teenage brain and the teenage mind to be getting up that early. It's definitely not tailored for my brain to be getting up that early all the time. But I think there's definitely things we do within the school, and projects we can instill, conversations we can have, how to utilize the technology in a beneficial way. I think all those things are definitely things that I didn't always have. There were a lot of times I went to school and I was in the classroom for 5.5, 6 hours, and I never got to speak.
Yeah. But you know
So
what though? What's happened with that though is I had a conversation today with my class. Um, Obviously we had keystones today. Kids are burnt beat already.
yeah,
Talk,
I hope you enjoyed your room, because I had to proctor in a room today, and I walked in at 7:10, and there were just groups, and I had to proctor a Keystone exam. So I had to move all the groups into rows. And I will tell you, I was not about to move those rows back into the group. The room was E107. I'm not really sure who teaches up there.
oh my
Um,
God, he's such a really. You are up here. You know what? How about
I
fix?
felt great. It was your way of giving me my morning exercise. I knew what you were getting at. I knew what we were going to go through there. So I got my lifting in and my cardio, and
Yeah.
I, I feel great today.
So you were in my room?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Oh, good man. Good
And I'll be
man.
back there tomorrow morning. Did you switch them all back to
No,
groups again?
I didn't. I kept him.
All right. All right.
I
No, go
was
ahead. But yeah, it's hard, right? So there's some kids that were testing all morning, stayed in the building,
right.
and then they're trying to stay motivated. Or you have kids coming in after sleeping in, trying to get back in rhythm. The day's not in rhythm, right? So what did you do? What were you guys talking about?
So we got to. We were watching a video that was related to like the content we're teaching, and then I was playing a game with them, like I was playing like a review game,
Okay.
which they liked. It was fun. We haven't done it yet. I figured I'd try. It was good. Took up a half hour or so, but it's a lot of fun. And then I was just talking to the class about like the being challenging themselves to continue to work hard even though we only have a couple weeks. And it was tough. I mean, and it's a good class, but just looking at them, like looking at them, that's what I'm getting. Deer in the headlights, like okay,
Chef, you scared me for a second there. I thought you were having a stroke. I can't even want to say
that's what
it.
I was getting, man.
Yeah.
I was getting that, like, and it's like I don't have any problem admitting one of my pitfalls is I'm trying so hard to get the message across, because
Right.
I really want kids to stay in the game, man. Like stay in the game. You got a couple weeks. Why are you giving up? Why are you giving up now? Oh my God, Shap, it's so hard. You don't understand. We don't. Yeah, I understand totally. Goes back to what you said. I'll say to them. So I said to the class, I'm like, so let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that I want summer to be here? Oh, you love school. You don't want to. Really? You don't think I want summer to be? Of course I want summer to be here. But I'm here. If I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be here. Like, and that's what I said to them. Like, you're already here. You're here. Why not give it your best since you're already here?
Right. So I think, you and I over the years have talked a great deal about, again, the coaching mentality
Mhm.
and being with our teams, and they want to be there. And these are the same students that are giving you the look in class, right? And okay, this isn't who they are. This isn't who they are right now. Like, I've seen them in other capacities. I've seen their ability to be a leader, to be motivated, to exert so much energy. And I think that's really the biggest thing that we want to transfer here and translate from one to another is in your everyday life, right? If you're wherever you are, you shouldn't treat it any differently than when you're succeeding and when you're putting forth all the effort. So it took me a while to learn that, but when I was on the basketball court or volleyball court, I was home, right? I felt great about it. Um, but that's got to translate into the classroom as well. That's got to be something where I also bring that same energy into the room. And I think you and I, we have a lot in common there, where it's almost annoying sometimes. Like I get students saying to me, like, how are you so awake? You were out till 11 last night at Souderton playing a match. What's wrong with you? And it's one of those things where you do want to get in and have that balance again. But if you can bring the energy, your hope is that we can harness enough of their energy to equal it out. And then eventually take it into their lives, take it into the community, take it into your job, take it into whatever you do outside of school. School can't be the end all be all, right? So it is a big question, but I think it can be done. I think maturity is a big part of it. I think experience is a big part of it. But I also think what we're doing right now and the discussions you have with like-minded people or even unlike-minded to get on the same page. You and I don't agree about everything. We already talked about that. And if you don't have those uncomfortable conversations, you're never going to be comfortable diving into something new, right? If you only hear what you want to hear, or be around people that are going to tell you what you want to hear, it doesn't give you much room for change. So yeah, I'm huge on right now figuring out a way for what happens on the court, that culture, to translate into the classroom, to translate into the community.
But I think though, Bass, what you said though, I've had this conversation. I had this with Dr. Caracappa. I had it with Blake Merritz. I've actually had it with every single guest I've had on, and some obviously you know them. You don't know some of the others.
I can't believe I wasn't the first guest. I mean, I guess we had to build up to an epic,
I had to get rid of all of the mistakes first, before I could have you on,
Right. Not saying that the guests you've had on, there's not anything wrong with them, but, usually you want to lead off with a big firecracker, big boom. It's an attention grabber.
Exactly. But again, I was a little afraid because I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask Brian to be on, and he's such a star that I don't want to mess this up. So let me bring on some of these people that are stars, but maybe not as much of a star as him, and get it figured out first.
Well, I was such a star that you made me wait an hour to get on tonight. I'm sitting here at 6:45 for the pre-talk, and I text him 3-4 times. The guy doesn't answer his texts. I mean, what a prima donna. I'll text you when I'm home. I'm back, whatever that means. And so I sat here for an hour.
No, that's not what I said.
Ruined my night.
Oh man.
You had other people on there talking about what we're talking about.
Right. So one of the things that came up, and you just said it, is when I think about the culture change, right? And even talking to my students today was interesting. You and I do disagree on some things, but we have mutual respect for each other. And I think that's one of the things that I really feel is one of the biggest issues that I see right now.
That people don't want to give that mutual respect?
The fact that we can disagree, right?
Yeah.
But we respect each other in that disagreement. I find that because of technology, because of the quick fix of everything in society, that it's very easy for people to do exactly what you said, and that's surround themselves with like-minded folks. Now, let me be clear. I believe that you want to surround yourself with people that make you feel good. I 100% believe that. But
that's why I'm surrounded by myself every day.
Exactly. I do the same thing. Like before you got on, I was practicing myself so I could see myself. So I was like, oh man, yeah, right. You look great today.
Yes.
Right. So
self-affirmations, they call them.
Exactly.
You're good enough. You're strong enough. And God darn it, people like you.
Oh boy. Now you got me all flustered.
Yeah.
But
it's important other than in the disagreements to be mutual respect, right?
Yeah.
And I agree. Like I, I and again, maybe this just comes with age and experience, but I've learned more from having conversations with people I disagree with about
Oh,
who I am than people that agree with me just to agree with me.
yep.
Um, and those are things you kind of have to learn over time. Um, again, to have that balance with it. But I think everybody in the end, if they could be open minded to what a teammate is saying, to what a coach is saying, to what a teacher and a classmate are saying, what their boss tells them when they leave, somebody within their church or synagogue, like just have an open mind. And you don't have, you make your own decisions from that point. But I think that building that respect and building that connectivity leads to a better culture to no matter where you are, which has to lead to a more successful and happy life because now you're improving every day, right? You're becoming a better person for you,
Mhm.
which in turn will make everybody else probably feel the same way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, I think that comes down to in this conversation with my students, I was saying to them that being able to put yourself out there, and I said to them, guys, suppose you can disagree with me. Like, I'm totally cool with that. Like, if you can disagree, as long as we're disagreeing respectfully in a way that shows that we care about each other. Like, if I say to you, give it your best, and you're like, oh my God, it's late in the year, I don't want to do that, and I say I don't understand why, and we keep going back and forth. That's called dialogue. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that as long as it's done in a respectful way. And I know I was going to say one thing. I'll be interested to see what you say about this because we've talked about this before, but maybe you add some different perspective. I'm a big fan of the high expectation piece. I think that our expectations when it comes to the building the culture in the community and the school and families is is not high enough. I think we need to expect more of ourselves and also expect more of others. And when we don't get that, what the heck do we do?
Yeah. So it's funny because, and I'm going to keep going back to it because it's such a passion of mine, but it's so relatable to the other things in my life that I do. When I go back to the coaching aspect and I look at my progression, next year will be my 20th year with the girls volleyball team,
Wow.
which again is hard to believe. And that's as the head coach. Like, so there were so many times when I was younger and first building my way up through and really figuring myself out, let alone my team and strategies and different things,
Mhm.
where I felt like I had to run everything.
Yeah.
I was in charge. Players be quiet, coaches coach, do what you're told. And if I did anything like that now, I'd be so upset with myself. Again, you need a balance, but like I'm so proud of what our girls are able to do. Like when I watch them at our Panther camp for the younger girls that come up through, they run the entire thing. And that's a bigger component to all of this, like you said, with the culture, is really growing up and trusting each other to lead, to be confident, to
Mm.
have an opinion on what happens. Again, it's not going to be totally student and player run, but if we can get to a point where we have a balance, I can tell you there was a playoff match about 10 years ago and had some really good players that ended up playing in college. And they asked me if they could switch a defense that we were in. And I said, no, this is what we practiced. This is what got us here. We're going to be fine. Just listen to me. I know what I'm doing. And we did not end up winning that night. And I don't know what would have happened. I don't have a time machine or a crystal ball, but I can tell you now, I'm more open to those conversations with players when they see something, when they feel confident enough to talk to me about it, to try it out with them. And it's so empowering when it happens in the classroom as well, when you see, instead of me just saying, you are going to do the project this way,
Mhm.
this is how I need you to get from A to Z. When there's choice involved, whether it's topics in public speaking or whether it's a slideshow, a written paper, a presentation, whatever it ends up being, if the student has some investment in it and we have that common ground, that mutual respect, you, in the classes that I have currently, I see better work.
I would say that that's the well, okay, I'll come back to this. So part of that trust and that agency, right, that you've given kids is because you have high expectations of them. You are
I
you
mean, I believe I believe if you are motivated and you put effort into something, you will see results. Um, and I've had high expectations for teams that didn't win a whole lot, and I've had high expectations for students in the classroom that didn't always do their work. But I can tell you at the end of the season or at the end of the class, they were better than when they came in.
Mhm.
And that is a big
Oh,
expectation, right? That
mm,
growth piece is so much bigger to me. Like,
oh,
I, I don't know how many compliments I had. We won 6 matches one year, and the other coaches just saying, "This is the best job you've ever done." Like, because we had went through a lot of injuries, we had a lot of players that weren't quite ready for varsity, or wasn't a natural progression for them to be there. But they worked so hard and they pushed the other teams to their limits, and it's because our expectations didn't drop.
mhm,
We didn't say, well, the season's over,
right.
whatever. Or, hey, you come in and give a presentation in public speaking and your first one's a disaster. Well, let's not give any more. You're not meant to do this. No way, right? You figure it out. You handle the feedback. You find another way around it to succeed.
Same. We're going in a circle. Students trust you. Your players trust you.
Most of them.
Well, yeah, of course
I'm kidding.
they
They
trust you.
better.
Yeah,
They
yes,
better.
they trust
Uh,
you because that goes back to the same thing. Is all of this stuff is like a big umbrella, like under the umbrella of high expectations. Is there's mutual trust. Your athletes, your students trust you that you have their best interests at hand, and it's vice versa. I
yeah,
think I
and
think. Go on. Sorry.
I would agree the same for you. I think one little sneaky advantage I've always had um, is being an alumni,
Oh yeah.
and especially early on in my career when it was difficult as a 23, 24, 25 year old to garner some of that respect.
Hmm.
Um, just having those connections and those things in common, right, leads to automatic trust. Like talking about my time in black and white night, talking about my
Hmm.
time playing for the teams that they're playing for. Um, so that's always been an ace up my sleeve that I've been able to fall back on. But it's also one of the reasons why I pushed so hard to get in the Centennial.
Hmm.
This is my home. I wanted to see it be the best it could possibly be, and um, I feel like for the most part we have gone in the right direction.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love. I mean, we both love William Tennant. We love being a staff there. We love making a difference. I think it's amazing. Let's transition for a minute. I was kind of we were talking a little bit, and obviously this is kind of everybody's kind of pre hopping on together. I know you've had some challenges in your life. We were talking about that before, and you feel comfortable sharing as much or as you little as you like. But I think it'll be really impactful for people to kind of hear what you've gone through. So share whatever you like.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, everybody's going to come. If anybody out there thinks that only obstacles and challenges come their way, and everybody else's life in an age of social media,
Right.
and having to watch, people go on vacations and all these things, and only magical things happen everywhere else except to you, you're wrong.
Right.
There's no doubt. The smile that I put on my face to come in to the building isn't always one of pure happiness, but it's one where I feel like I don't need to air all that kind of stuff all the time, right? As
Hmm.
we go through life, there are going to be a lot of hardships. I guess the first thing I could lead with was I know I'm a huge Miley Cyrus fan, and
Yes, yes, you are.
and for years and years here at Night of Reflections and through different speeches, I have tried my darndest to get her attention. And even through, I'm not on any social media. Like I've told you this countless times. I have nothing. I can't even believe I'm doing this because getting on this link was kind of high technology for me. But Miley has never answered me. And contrary to what people believe, again, how much you said I'm beloved and this and that happens, I find it ridiculous that here she continues to just buy herself flowers. Um, I don't know.
God.
No, so no, obviously I'm playing around there, and those are one of the things where I think even dating back to my first year at William Tennant, that students still don't know, do I really like Miley Cyrus or not? They are not sure. And so I'm not going to divulge that information tonight, but I'm just going to say people that genuinely know me know the truth. So you'll have to keep digging for the truth. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I've had plenty of obstacles. I can go back to my childhood, and again, something that allowed me to grow. My dad, awesome guy, saw him the other day. Um, he struck me out stone cold, strike three. He was not the umpire either. He took glory in the umpire. The ball skipped up off the ground, and at a 1 ball, 1 strike count, my dad volunteered to come down and finish the at bat, 2 outs, last inning. And I thought, oh man, I'm on base for sure. And I stood there with the bat on my shoulder, and he gave me 2 big ones, strike two, strike three. And I tried to argue on the way home, and he said, "You better get that bat off your shoulders. What you better do." And I'll tell you what, those kind of challenges, like when you're younger, are a big deal, right? Those are things where you don't quite understand what he's trying to instill in me. And I overcame that by getting the bat off my shoulder. And as I hit and as I did things, I became more confident, but I always wasn't that way. Like starting anything new, you're scared to death to play a new sport, to ride a bike. These things are scary. Um, Shep, when we went to school, we couldn't even just text a girl. We had to go up to her and ask her if she'd like to go somewhere. And then when they said no, or like your face turned red and everybody laughed. Like those challenges are unbelievable. But they do prepare you for certain things to come. And again, I've been through big ones. I've been through a divorce. And I would say we are co-parenting beautifully. I have a lot of respect um, for her and for what we were doing as parents together. But the biggest challenge I faced was because of our separation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was not seeing my son every day. There's really no words you can't prepare somebody for that time. And again, it wasn't anything either of us planned. There was nothing that either of us felt like that was even the best decision, but we felt our only one maybe, and we weren't moving forward together the way we wanted to. And we felt like we were going to be better, co-parenting together that way. So, again, huge amount of respect for her, but I know it's tough on her too. And those types of challenges, though, you can do one of two things. You can kind of fold up and not go through it, not talk to people, not branch out, right? And just accept it. Or you can say, this isn't my first choice. This isn't what I wanted, but it's the way it is. And I'm going to surround myself with people that can help me out of this. I'm going to surround myself with things that can help me out of this. And our lives are all going to be better because of that, because of overcoming the challenge. And I can honestly say, where I am today, I'm a much better person. And I feel like I'll be a much better dad and everything because I didn't give up on those when stuff got rough.
I love that, Bass. That's such a great. It's funny. We talked about that. Remember, I was on the track and you came down and we were talking about the situation that was going on with your son and your wife, your ex-wife. And I was just thinking about that, like how you handled it and how like difficult it had to be, but also how mature you were in that situation. Because it's
Well, we
not.
do things all the time, and that goes back to you and I in our conversations. She's really level-headed. She's got a good, smart, she good soul. She's got a, intelligent, but it's one of those things where you have to do your best when we're balancing. We're much different people.
Mhm.
Um, with certain things, with certain ideas. And that's not good or bad. That's just, I think, Mason gets the benefit of having that balance. But yeah, those are things where if you don't talk through things, or if you don't at least try to understand the other person's perspective, it's not going to turn out well, right?
Mhm.
So those are things where I'm always willing to open up, listen to the other side, um, no matter who it might be, and try to get on the same page or come together on that compromise. It's going to benefit everybody, and that's really, I think, where we want to be in life, right? We want to make everybody better.
But how do you? It's a great, amazing transition. I know you don't have the answer to it because nobody does. But how do we? My thing that I see right now in schools and society is listening to you talk about we want to be better. I want to be able to listen. I want to be able to help. And I want other people to help me. I find that right now in society, especially with all the social media and all this stuff, everybody's looking for like the quick fix, right? Like, got to be a quick, immediate fix to everything. How do you think we can kind of help people in this short time we're together to kind of like be able to develop some perspective, be able to see somebody's point of view without feeling like we're attacked?
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly where our society is headed. Everything is um, very, very quick. It moves very, very fast. Comments are instant. The next video is right there, right? With the next piece of advice. Um, I don't know. I don't know a great way. Yeah, I don't have a lot of answers for that, other than to say I know for me, it's always better to take a step back, take a deep breath, and understand that even especially online, um, from what I can you read about and you see or you hear about from the different students and you see in the comments, people don't even always mean to be negative,
Mhm,
but you could read it as negative.
mhm.
And now you're worried about things, or things are taking place that don't even exist. Um, and those are big conversations we've had even with our teams before, where did you go over and talk to the other person about it? Well, no, but I heard and I saw.
Oh,
And it's like, well, of course you feel this way because we don't even know the truth. Let's find out what's really going on. And most times when both sides tell their end of the story, things are okay.
yes.
Things are better than what we believe they would be. And if they're not, everybody's got to be okay with saying, okay, I understand that, I respect that, and we'll go our separate ways. Right? I mean, it's an easy way around it, but yeah, I think having that perspective to just, you have to be able to be patient. It's the hardest thing to do.
Mhm.
And you have to be able to just step back and say, do I know all the information from the other side? And is it possible that I'm wrong?
Oh, and you said something though. You said, and I'll say this, and I think it's one of the things that it's good and it's also a pitfall. You know, when you say like you have to be able to do this, you have to be able to step back, right? For for us, I think we have developed a certain ability to be able to step back, right? To be able to see some perspective. I think right now that it's very challenging because what happens is if all you this goes back to one of your first comments, Bess, if all you hear is somebody affirming your beliefs and then somebody sees it differently, you've been hearing the same thing so long over and over that when somebody thinks differently, some people don't have that ability to just say, hey, I have to step back. I got to step back and see, oh, you know what? Oh, Brian was saying something to Pete. You know what? He might be right about that. I should think about that a little bit. Or, you know what? I still don't think he's right, but we can walk away friendly and just disagree. I think that's hard.
Yeah, I mean, look, this goes back to something I said in the beginning, because there's even times when you see something, a video, whatever it might be, and you're kind of like, it irritates you right
Yeah.
away. And I'm like, maybe it shouldn't, or maybe that's not what they meant. But I can tell you right now, like, again, being on something like this, as comfortable as I am with speaking and with getting up in front of people and being in the limelight, this is not something I'm genuinely like comfortable with
Mhm.
because look, I don't have the crystal ball, right? We don't have all the answers, you and I. We're just throwing things out there, maybe make people think,
Yep.
maybe give somebody a different perspective, a different thing to think about. You could be sitting at home if anybody tunes into this, which I don't again know why they would, but
I knew it was gonna. I knew it. I was coming. I was
if
waiting.
yeah, I mean, if they are that bored in their lives and they're listening to us talk for this long, um, no, it's okay. It's okay for people to be like, he's full of it, or what is he talking about, or he deserves this or that. Like, right? Like, whether they're right or wrong, please have your own opinion in the end of what's going to be best for you, right? What's going to be best in your life. But I would just hope that you have an open mind enough to allow yourself to explore all avenues.
Mhm.
Before you don't like somebody, truly get to know them.
Right.
Don't dislike them because of what's on the surface. Because again, you and I, even even though we are, a lot of who we are, what's on the surface for us isn't everything we are.
Of course.
And you cut me, I'm gonna bleed. If you really want to dive deep, there's things about me that I can tell you that are good and bad, right? And those are all parts of life. And everybody, I just hope understands that that's what makes life so special is that we get to go through this and try to navigate our way through to hopefully in the end learn something.
I love it. Fast. So I don't know if I told you the story. I'm gonna kind of finish my part, and then I'll have Brian kind of wrap up a little bit. Did I tell you? Do you know the honking story?
Yeah, with the gym.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
Oh
geez. You
no.
have more than one honking story?
Do you know the story honking in the rain?
No.
Okay, here we go. So
It's a
everybody,
real story?
it is a true story. So
Okay.
everybody, here we go. It kind of goes back to like, so I am generally really, I'm not really a high stress guy. I'm really not. I try to be even keel and low key. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was getting ready to compete, and it was a Saturday morning, and we
Compete in what? Compete in
ha-
what? A food competition? All you can eat wings?
right, right, right. I might even answer his comment. Uh,
What? I don't know.
a powerlifting competition.
Okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger over here, Mr. Universe. All right. Go ahead.
May I continue?
Yeah, honk a tonk man. Go ahead.
So I go to the gym. It's pouring rain, and I'm not feeling that good. I was already a little sore and injured. So I go to the gym. I have my workout. The workout goes horrible. I just wasn't feeling good. So I leave the gym. I'm about to go into my car, and my keys are in my bag. So I got to search through my keys. It's pouring rain. I'm getting soaked. I get in the car, and car's wet. I'm driving. I drive across the street, and I'm on the street that's near my house. It's like a mile long. So there's a car in front of me, and there's a car behind me. So the car behind me is honking its horn, but I can't go anywhere because there's a car in front of me. And the street that we're on is, it's like one way each way. So you can't pass anybody. So we're going slow. The guy in front of me is going like 15 miles an hour. And the guy behind me is honking his horn. And I'm already wet. I'm soaked. I'm not feeling good. And I'm like, take a breath. So we come to the area of the street where he's still honking. And there's this huge puddle because it was flooded. So we get to it. And he had already tried to pass me and the car in front of me. But he couldn't because there was cars coming the other way. So he had to come behind us. He keeps honking. And I'm like, oh, that's it. I stop right in the middle of the puddle on the street, get out of my car in the pouring rain, walk up to his car and like, stop honking your freak. He goes, I'm trying to go someplace. I'm like, no crap, but I can't go anywhere.
He
And
was really trying to cut the crap.
And it was crazy because when I tell people about it, they'll be like, you did that? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm not proud of it. It wasn't something that was smart. I wouldn't normally do that. Normally I just let it like
It's
roll up.
not something you would teach in the classroom,
Nope, nope.
right?
And I would never teach that in the classroom. It was like the guy could have had a gun. It was like the dumbest thing ever. But my point was like that's not who I normally am.
Yeah.
But we all slip up at times.
And I was going to say, you know what? A mistake in the heat of the moment. And it could have been a bigger mistake. But I think when you're able to put that in perspective, like I know you do,
Yep.
that it's only going to make the situation, you're going to be able to tell thousands of people that story now, most likely because they'll tune in to see me here and they'll hear it. But maybe the next time that happens to somebody, they'll think twice about doing what you did,
Exactly.
it averts something worse happening, right? And
Exactly.
that's the key again. Going back to all this is that communication aspect. Let's make each other better everywhere we are.
Mhm.
You would have never blown up on anybody in the middle of your classroom or on the middle, cross country track. You
Mhm.
wouldn't be screaming at your players that way. But sometimes things happen, right?
Yep.
Especially in our personal life when our battery's low, and that's you can't judge somebody on that one moment.
And I think that's critical because I talked to people about it and I was like, look, I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud that I got out of the car. Like, but on that particular moment in time, I was already fired up. And the guy kept going and he wouldn't stop. And I just kind of lost it for a second. But and I would say I'm telling you the story not to brag about it because it was just dumb, but to make a point that we're not perfect.
Oh, of course. I think you telling that story has got to be difficult.
Hmm?
That's not something you're proud of. You're
Nope.
ashamed of it.
Yep.
And being able to talk about things we're ashamed of sometimes, right, or not our proudest moments, again, may open up a perspective for somebody else to know who we truly are or know where we want to be or where we want them to be.
Hmm.
So no, that's a huge thing to be able to talk about something you're uncomfortable with.
Yeah, got to be uncomfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep. Yeah. If they say like, right, if you do the things you've always done, you're going to get what you always got.
Yeah.
So you have to be okay branching outside of that comfort zone to talk about sometimes some things that you don't feel great about because they're just going to continue to fester.
Mhm.
And even sometimes just being able, like right here, you weren't looking for anything out of that.
No.
Sometimes it's just the reassurance though of we all make mistakes. That's all
Oh,
people need to hear, right?
100%. Like
Instead of what are you going to do? Go home and beat yourself up over it for the next 3 years, right? And feel guilty about it.
but that's also a confidence piece though. You got to be confident enough in yourself to be able to share without being afraid of ridicule, which is a whole nother thing. We're not even going to
Yeah,
get into that, but that's it. It's true though. You got to be like when I'm telling you that story. Well, first of all, I trust you. That's the first thing. If I didn't trust you, I wouldn't say it. But I also know that that one story doesn't make me who I am. It just was a blip,
sure.
and that's it. Nothing more. Um, okay, everybody, I'm going to have Brian finish up with a thought, and we'll wrap it up. Bash, you want to have a closing thought, a closing message you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we gave enough messages tonight, but I would just like to say, thank you to you for having me on. I think what you're trying to do here, again, is just another piece of what we try to do all the time. Just get good messages out there, allow people to have a different perspective, think a little differently. Um, Anybody who's watching tonight, I just want to say
Huh.
that, again, don't, what? You thought I was going to say, I'm being serious.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, like, I hope they do feel confident enough of themselves if something goes wrong or if they feel like they need to get something off their chest, that there's people to go to. There's always someone. Even if you feel all alone in the world, there's always someone out there, especially at William Tennant, that you can find and we can get you to a good spot and get you to a place where your life's going to get better. And I just want to thank everybody that supported me over the years. whether that's family, friends, coworkers. Um, it's I wouldn't be the man I am. I wouldn't be the person I am if it wasn't for all of them and the supports that they give me. As much as I act sometimes like I know everything and I am Mr. Wonderful, you do need, you know, a good support system around you. So I'm blessed that I found mine. And I would like to end on a note that I talked about, you know, a lot of people being very intelligent and I have a lot of like good adjectives for people. Um, my girlfriend is she's beautiful. She's really intelligent these days. So I couldn't close without mentioning her. She's done a lot for my life over the past couple of years. And, no, I'm just blessed to be where I am. I'm very thankful for, what I get to do each day. And I'm looking forward to our girls volleyball season next season. I think we're going to be really good. The girls have been working hard. And I don't know what happened tonight, but I hope the boys won out there in Unionville.
Nice. Everybody. So first, I'm gonna Bri, thank you, man. I really do appreciate you coming on. I knew you were going to be a great guest because I just know you personally. You had so many great tidbits to share, wisdom, humor, and people are going to love this.
Yeah,
So
again, look, there's no crystal ball. We do a lot of rambling, you and I.
that's right.
I don't know how anybody's going to make it through this, to be honest. I'm kind of disgusted in it, but I think there was a lot of good that was said, and I really truly do hope. Look, if you watch this and you hate it and you couldn't even sit through 30 seconds of listening to me, that's perfectly okay. But if you can search through this and find something that you relate to, connect to, think you could benefit from, please just continue to share it along because we don't reach everybody, right? So we're dominoes in life, and the more we can help each other, the better our whole community is going to be.
Thank you, Bass. Everybody, first of all, I hope you learned something from tonight. I hope you got something out, whether it was a laugh, something serious, anything that's going to help your life be a little bit more positive and uplifting. If you'd like to be part of the podcast, Cutting the Crap with Shep, I'd love to have you on. Don't be afraid to ask. I went up to Brian and just asked him, "Hey, Bash, you want to be on?" And he hopped right on. So the worst that can happen is it doesn't work, but that's okay. Uh, I always finish with a closing thought, and here it is for tonight. Be open-minded. Have a great night. Thank you, everybody. Bash, you're the man. Have a good night.
Thanks.